got our first set of patch notes for the upcoming season, okay? So we spent this preseason farming out our gear, getting our honor, getting ready to go, figuring out what the frick is overpowered, you know? What are the most overpowered specs we can run so we can be OP? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first set of tuning. And this tuning is a PvE tuning. And don't you think for a second that that doesn't affect PvP, because it absolutely does, okay? So let me fill you guys in on a little bit of a secret, okay? This is a trade secret. What you want, what you really, really want, is you want your class to be pretty good in PvP and suck in PvE. That is the most important thing. Because if you're pretty good in PvP, you're probably not going to get PvP nerfed. But if you suck in PvE, you're going to get buffed. And those buffs are going to stick. Okay? So let's see who won the lottery in terms of who's already good in PvP and who just got buffed. Okay, so let's go through these patch notes really, really quick. And we can check it out. As a result of recent testing and analysis of class performance, now that Guardians of the Dream patch is live, we're going to make a few adjustments to over and underperforming specs just before the beginning of the Dragonflight Season 3 on Tuesday. Perfect. Just in the nick of time. Please note that the changes to tier sets are listed below for reference, and their differentials are in comparison to the last public build of the PTR. Again, we'd like to thank everyone who tested classes on Guardians of the Dream PTR. Your feedback was very helpful. Classes. All right, let's see for Death Knight. So I would say Unholy Death Knight, or before I even read these, I would say Unholy Death Knight in PvP is already very good. And they are getting a Death Coil buff by 10%, a Scourge Strike, Clawing Shadows damage buff, a Ghoul damage buff, a Virulent Plague damage buff, and Apocalyptic Ghoul. So this is a huge win for Unholy Death Knights because I already think they're good, and they're getting a bunch of throughput buffs. So good job for DKs. You won the lottery. All right, let's see for Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters, they have just a set bonus change. Sigil of Flame damage granted reduced by 20%. Illuminated Sigils now increases parry chance against affected targets by 15%. So this is for a tank Demon Hunter anyways, so not really a big, nothing changes for Demon Hunter. These are irrelevant patch notes. Perfect. Druid Guardian Mantle now grants 12 rage. Relevant. Cat form energy regeneration increased. Irrelevant. Balance. Cat form energy regeneration increased. Irrelevant. Restoration. Rip damage increased by 140%. Does not apply in PvP combat. So they actually did not increase Restore Druid damage with Rip. Rake damage increased by 60%, but that is in PvP. Shred damage increased. That is in PvP. Ferocious Bite damage increased. Does not apply in PvP combat. So for Restore Druids, they got a bit more. I'd say the energy is the most relevant for Resto Druids. So they got more energy, they got more Rake damage, and more Shred damage. But they avoided the Rip damage, and they avoided the Ferocious Bite damage. Next up, Augmentation Evoker. Everybody's absolute favorite spec. So let's see what they did there. Augmentation. Developers' notes. The amount of utility that Augmentation Evoker brings on top of its high damage has proven to be too powerful, despite recent changes. Okay. Therefore, we are further reducing their damage contributions to the group in order to balance them against other specializations. Ebon Might grants 6.5% of the Evoker's primary stat, was 8. Close as Clutch Mates increases the effectiveness of Ebon Might and Breath of Eons by 10%, was 20. The amount of versatility granted by Shifting Sands has been reduced by 15%. Okay. People in my stream are saying that that guts augmentation. Does it? I feel like it doesn't gut them. I don't think that's like the end of the world. Is it? I think they're still pretty good. I think Aug's going to be just fine. Oh, nice. Mage, Frost. Let's see what we got here for Mage. I'm excited about this one. What do we get? What do we get? Aw. The tier set bonus increased Glacial Spike damage by 16%. Was 10. Okay. The damage from the explosion now deals 15% of damage dealt. Was 20. So they nerfed the 4 set. So for PvP, you're not going to use the 4 set. If you like Glacial, you'll use the 2 set. I just want you guys to know, okay? I want all the Frost Mages that are watching this video to know that if Glacial is one-shotting, it will get nerfed. It always gets nerfed. If Glacial Spike does too much damage, it's going to get nerfed. That's why I don't like Glacial Spike. I feel like the way it does damage is a little bit unhealthy. I know it can be fun when you're one-shotting people, but if it does too much damage, it always gets nerfed. So you don't want to have all your damage in this ability because it will always get nerfed. It happens every time. So I still think Frost Mage is in a significantly worse spot going into Season 3 than it was in Season 2. The 2 set in Season 2 in PvP was 10% Ice Lance damage, which is your #1 damage ability by far. So we lost 10% damage on our #1 ability, and then our other instant damage Flurry also lost 10% damage. And then we gained Glacial Spike. And if Glacial Spike ends up being the only way you win a game, it will get nerfed. And then we're just in a really, really bad spot. So I do think Frost Mage needs some help. Yeah. And before people are like, oh, it's OP, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Frost Mage is pretty good in Soul Shuffle. Agreed. But I would say it's probably the worst of the Mage specs right now overall. And yeah, going into the next season, it got worse. And pretty much every other spec that I know of got better, except maybe like Frost DKs. Frost DKs are like, I don't know what's going on with Frost DKs. They hate Frost DKs just like they hate Frost Mages. So we're in this together, baby. All right, next. Brewmaster. Let's see. Brewmaster. A Murdersill tier set, 2 set, Fire Breath. Okay, it's a Brewmaster set bonus. They increased the Fire Breath damage. Bonus damage to targets affected by Fire Breath was increased, so Brewmaster got some throughput buffs. Blackout reinforcements granted by melee abilities now occurs 66% more often, increases blackout damage by 200%. Okay, so Windwalker tier got buffed. All right, next up we can go for Rep Paladins. Rep Paladins got all ability damage increase, so from what I've seen, Rep Paladins seem good at this very moment, so just getting overall 3% more damage is obviously a big benefit to them. Congratulations, Rep Paladins. Just like Unholy DKs, the benefit of sucking in PvE is strong. Priest, Discipline. Discipline healing throughput, particularly in Rage, is slightly higher than we would like, given their damage and utility contributions to the group. To balance them, are reducing some talents that are giving them a lot of power for only 1 talent point. The goal is to improve talent balance while also bringing them in line with other healers. Divine Aegis absorption reduced to 5% of healing was 10. Okay. And Inescapable Torment damage reduced. Inescapable Torment, I believe, is your Mindbender porting. Is that true? Inescapable Torment, I think, is when you use Penance and Death, your Mindbender ports and does. So they nerfed the Mindbender burst a little bit, which does affect PvP. Okay, Rogue. Something about their tooltips. Single target damage increased by 4%. So Assassination Rogue got a little bit of single target damage increase if you end up using tier. Destruction Warlock. Flame Rift damage increased by 50%. Unstable Tear damage increased by 5%. Shadowy Tear damage increased by 5%. Chaos Tear damage. So Destro Warlocks in their tier. Destro Warlocks are going to be all about their rifts, which is like very unavoidable damage. These changes could be very strong in PvP. Right now, I think Destro Warlocks are a little bit slept on compared to Demo and Affliction. Like, I think Destro's good, but in the preseason, I think Destro might be the worst until it gets its tier. And once it gets its tier and it's just crapping out these portals, it's going to be really, really difficult to deal with because you can't line of sight the portals. They do a lot of damage. They just got buffed. I think Destro Warlock's looking really strong. We can look at Demo as well. A Murdersill tier set, Doombrand single target damage increased by 50%. Doomfiend single target damage increased by 40%. Okay. The 2-piece set bonus now reduces the cooldown of Grimoire Felguard by 0.5 seconds. reducing the power of Demonology's previous set bonus to bring it in line with the other set bonuses. Additionally, we're increasing the throughput of both Destruction and Demonology set bonus from a Midra cell while increasing the power of Dimensional Rift's baseline. All right. So, yeah, looking at these patch notes, this is the first of many to come. As always, I will be always going through these patch notes, giving you my thoughts and feelings. My honest opinion is we're not going to be getting any PvP tuning. Oh, maybe on like Friday of the first week we might, but I kind of feel like they might even just wait till everybody has tier, unless something's like really, really out of line. I feel like they might wait like 1, 2, 3 weeks. So get ready, guys. I think it's going to be a shit show for a little while. Just try to have some fun, and we'll see where we go from here.